The North runs through the Motor City. The Lions go into Lambeau and walk out with the win, 34-20. Your final. Biggest performer in this one, David Montgomery. 5 total rushing touchdowns on the season, capped off by 3 here on Thursday night. It was 32 totes for 121. My guy Emery Hunt said pregame, it's going to be a point of contact ball game. Well, the trenches were won, and they were won by Detroit. Instant reaction with the man Emery Hunt in studio. Tyler Sullivan joining us as well, fellas. An assertive statement here once again from the Detroit Lions. Looking at the schedule, week 1 Thursday night was the national statement. Maybe this one was a bit more localized, Emery, but a statement no less. What'd you learn about Detroit tonight? That
they're physical, they're tough, and they mean what they say. When you go out there and just beat teams up along the line of scrimmage, it shows you how valuable the offensive line is, defensive line play is. And so when you have these fans that say, hey, we need to pick up an offensive lineman at so-and-so, well, where are these guys going to go find these offensive linemen? That's why they're so valuable. When you have a slew of first-rounders on both sides of the ball, it makes a difference. And they came in healthier on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and that's why they were able to dominate Green Bay on both sides.
Yeah, I think one of the more encouraging things with Detroit is that I think that they can win multiple ways. I mean, yes, we talk about Dan Campbell biting kneecaps and the physical style of football that they play. And obviously you saw David Montgomery, 30 carries, over 100 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Yes, he was on my fantasy bench, but I don't want to talk about that. Really, what I like to see about this team, though, is that they can be explosive when they need to be. You saw a couple of chunk plays in this game. You know when things need to get going in the passing game, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown that can really get going as an elite wide receiver in the NFL. So obviously in that second half, you're really kind of grinding, churning out clock. It's really the David Montgomery show. But when you have a guy like Sam Laporta, who you see on this screen, they have some young pieces here that are special in the passing game. So again, as much as we look at the running game here, I do think that this team has showed you over the course of a few weeks here that they can win multiple ways.
Yeah, they surely have. This one not particularly close on the scoreboard or the box score. And even further apart were these two teams when you just watched it play out on the field. Take into account 1 touchdown drive there, aided by the 3rd quarter deep ball Jordan Love hits with 0s on the clock. This was a one-sided ball game for pretty much the majority of it. Green Bay appearing that they have a little bit of a starting block problem right now. Getting outscored 44-3 in the first half, their last 2 games, Tyler Sullivan. What does that tell you about this team right now? I mean, talent there, raw, yes, but having trouble getting going early in games.
Yeah, I think you said it right there. Raw, young, still trying to figure themselves out with Jordan Love. I think a lot of us got a little bit excited that they're kind of showing that resiliency in the second half. I was certainly one of them that picked them to win this game at home. But I think we might have overlooked, and I could say certainly I overlooked the fact that they are starting off these games a little bit slow. I mean, when we're talking about a first half where they averaged 1 yard per play, that's a problem. With a young team, with Jordan Love at the quarterback position, you can't put yourself behind the 8 ball in that regard, whether it's the Detroit Lions or whoever you want. You're not going to win football games that way without some type of Herculean effort on your side, but also that other team letting you back in. And we saw tonight that Detroit was not going to let you do that. So again, it's a young team. They're still trying to figure themselves out. I thought in the first half, you looked at the offensive line, there were certainly some issues there, obviously with David Bakhtiari now on IR. That's going to be something they have to figure out. I thought Jordan Love was a little jittery at the start, seemed to settle down once they said, listen, you're behind, you have to start chucking it. But ultimately, this is the signs and the growing pains of a young team that we're seeing here.
Yeah, they want to establish a run game and try to let him ease into the ball game. But when they're asked to throw, especially when your offensive line is banged up, and you saw the inconsistencies from Jordan Love early in the game last week and early in this ball game, is missing some throws, off on some throws down the field. And once he got his feet settled, like you mentioned, Tyler, he was able to do what he needed to do to help try to bring this team back. But if they can't get their ground game going early in the game to kind of ease him in or either give him some easy completions, that's when they're going to struggle. And we saw that play out today against Detroit.
Yeah, the Lions' offensive attack aided and really spearheaded by one man in particular. There's one player in the history of the Lions franchise to go for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns in one game against the Packers. It's not Sanders. It's not Sims. It's David Montgomery, and it was here on Thursday night, coming off injury, no less. Emery, what did you make of the performance here by Montgomery? Historical in a number of different ways, but just really assertive, about 4 yards per carry. The man looked fully healthy, and it looked like he fully fits into that offense. Maybe some question marks, a different conversation about Jahmyr Gibbs next to him.
Yeah, it's funny because I joked while we were watching this game, Joe, that he is the only guy whose jersey looks completely fourth quarter-ish in the first quarter. But you like the fact that he was able to answer the call. Hey, this was the type of game that we needed you to carry the ball 30 times. This was the type of game where we needed you to kind of be the pace setter. It didn't look dynamic. It didn't look pretty. It was a series of 3.5-yard carries. He was money down inside the red zone, down inside the green zone, 5 yards going in, 3 touchdowns. So you saw him do a fantastic job. And when you watched him run, he kind of got better and better with each and every carry. He ripped off some 10-yarders here and there, and he was really able to close out this game.
Tyler, he might not be that that home run back that we think of sometimes, but 4 yards a clip, doing what he did tonight, you can win behind an effort like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys just touched on it there a little bit. He got stronger as the game went along. And so when we're looking at this team, not as a contender in the division, I think they're obviously firmly in the driver's seat in the NFC North. But when we start to look at them in a playoff setting, when it starts to get cold in January, in maybe even, obviously December and January, when it starts to get a little bit cold, when these teams start to get a little bit more tired, you're going to have to rely on that type of a running game to really close out these games like we saw tonight. If you have a guy like David Montgomery, who is as gritty, as grindy as we've seen him be in this game tonight, and eventually Jahmyr Gibbs is going to catch on. I know he's kind of been slow starting here a little bit, but once he starts to give you that explosion as well, you're talking about a thunder and lightning that's going to be really tough to defend for any defense going forward.
Yeah, they just don't seem like a fun team to line up against. No. They just seem like a team that's going to make it a long day, win, lose, or draw. And this rushing attack was really on the main stage, Thursday Night Football. We know explosivity maybe does come at a premium. They went to the ground, and they went there effectively. You touch upon it a little bit there, Tyler. When we look at what they do best, winning in the trenches, that plays against just about everybody. We don't want to project it too far, but as we start to get an idea of who's who right now, stacking them up against some of the classes of the NFC, this looks like a team that's built to win. Maybe there are better collections of position players, but how do you assess them through the first quarter or so here of the season?
Yeah, you look at them, and I think it's kind of unfortunate, but I do think you look at them and you look at Jared Goff and you say, well, he's not one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, so they're clearly not one of the elite teams in the NFC. I think that you would be wrong if you start to look at it that way. Jared Goff is playing the best football of his career right now, and he's not Patrick Mahomes, he's not Josh Allen, but you know what he's doing? He's putting his team in positions to win. He's making the right throws, making the right checkdowns. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, the game manager, and you have those explosive weapons on offense, this team can be dangerous. You have David Montgomery who can grind things out. You have explosion with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Sam Laporta coming out as a rookie sensation at the tight end position, one of the more prolific rookies at that position that we've seen so far. And like I said earlier, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get going at some point. When you have that elite offensive line, those pieces on defense, you can put them pretty much up against any team in the NFC, maybe outside, just below Philadelphia and San Francisco.
Yeah, let's stack up that offensive line, Tyler, and let's look at where they can have success. You look at that schedule. They do have Baltimore coming up, so that's a team where we know they have a very good defensive line. Then you go into, let's say, potentially the postseason. How can they match up versus San Francisco's defensive front seven? They can match up well. They can hold their own. Philadelphia, they match up rather well, can hold their own. So they are built to play in September, October, December, and January as well. So I agree with you there. Defensively, they're built the same way because now we've seen Isaiah Buggs come to life. We've seen Aiden Hutchinson add more pass rushing chops to his repertoire. We've seen them be able to cover with their backers, but also play the run downhill with their backers. And you hope Brian Branch can get back to 100% because now you have a great matchup piece in the secondary. So they're built to win any type of way offensively, but they're also built to beat you any kind of way on the defense side of the ball, too.
That is 12 sacks for this defense over the last 2 weeks. 7 last week, 5 here on a short week Thursday night. That's going to play against everybody in the league as well. 11-3 over the last 14 games are these Lions. It's also 4 straight wins against the Packers in that head-to-head. Final thought here on the Packers. Let's go Jordan Love specific, Emery, because he's left something to be desired here over these last 2 starts. Maybe we're quick to coordinate after we saw long-term success of a Packer quarterback for a very very long time in the form of Favre and Rodgers. I know it's going to take a long time to see any sort of success that can even whisper towards those types of legends. But it looks like regression these last 2 weeks. What'd you make of the performance? Where does Love need to be better?
You know, I'm not as going to harp on how bad he was tonight, because I feel like when you watch those incompletions and those inaccuracies, a lot of it's tied to his footwork. And the reason why his footwork was all over the place, his offensive line was beat up. He didn't feel comfortable in the pocket. So let's say if they get healthier, at least get Elton Jenkins back, and maybe after 4 games they'll get back Bakhtiari. But if they can get Jenkins back and that'll calm his feet down, they'll be better. He'll be better. And he also has to start using those feet to get outside and start making things happen on the ground with his legs, because that opens things up for the run game. And when he's able to do that and play balance, this offense will look a lot better. I do like the chemistry he has with these wide receivers, but until he calms his feet down, and that's going to come with better protection, more of the same is going to be coming for Jordan Love.
Yeah, Love came into this game with the lowest completion percentage, most off-target throws in the NFL. And I do think a lot of it, like you were saying, Emery, was the offensive line in front of him is just not giving him time, especially early. He's bouncing around. He's feeling that pressure. They're moving Aiden Hutchinson around like a chess piece. And that's not great for a young quarterback. You don't want, obviously, he's not a rookie, but he's a first-time starter, full-time starter in the NFL. That's going to throw you off. That's not going to make you comfortable. I thought that what the Packers need to do over these next few weeks as they try to make their offensive line a little bit more cohesive is really just to get the ball out quick. The reason why his accuracy numbers are down, his completion percentage is down, is because a lot of these throws are down the field. They're really trying to push things down the field to keep themselves in these games because they're creating these holes. I think that with Christian Watson coming back, with Aaron Jones healthy, they need to start working things around the line of scrimmage, across the middle of the field, give him some layup throws for him to build that confidence, to keep that defense honest, and that'll ultimately help him out going forward.
34-20, your final between these NFC North teams, and a message sent and received by the home side here. Tyler Sullivan, Emery Hunt, we appreciate you guys as always.